Hi everyone, welcome back to Crafting with Slavi. In today's video, we're going to be making some last minute Christmas cards that are ideal for mass producing. The picture you just saw is the first card, and in the navigation below in the description, I am going to include where I begin work on the second batch of cards, just to keep it clear as to which products I am using for each. So in this case, I am using the Simon Says stamp holiday background. I've got my red cardstock, just any red cardstock that you have in your stash. I've also considered using green cardstock for this, just to get that Christmassy feel. And what I'm doing is I am stamping this out in my Misty with some clear ink, embossing ink, and I'm going to be going over it with clear embossing powder. And this is going to create a really lovely tone on tone look because I don't want this to take over the whole card. You could experiment with doing this in gold or silver, depending on which colors you're using. That would be really pretty. Like maybe if you had glitter cardstock and then you embossed in that same color. I don't know if that would work, depending on, I guess, the texture of the paper. And anyways, so yeah, that was what I did. The first card that I made two panels like this. The first one, I used the basic rectangles from Simon to cut out the A2 size card that you can see here. And what I didn't realize, so for these cards, I am using the large written Merry Christmas, also from Simon. And what I didn't realize is that when you cut it down to an A2 sized card, it doesn't actually fit across the panels. So you have to have it laying flat. Am I making sense? You'll get what I'm talking about later. Back to the cards. So what I did here is I just took my embossing ink pad and I smooshed it onto the paper, and then I heat embossed it with gold embossing powder. And the reason I did this is because I didn't have gold cardstock and I wanted to cut out the Merry Christmas in gold. So I cut it out with the gold embossing on it, and then I also cut it out 3 other times, but I lost one, in just the red paper to stack it up and make it nice and dimensional. And then I went ahead and I attached this to the background, and I cut out the back piece out of vellum cardstock. So you'll see pretty quickly here where I goofed on this, because the vellum really makes it stick out on either side of the card. So if I were to do this again, I would probably still repeat the same process, but instead of doing it portrait, I would do it landscape, the card base, so that the Merry Christmas fits just right. But I really enjoyed the look of the vellum in behind the sentiment. I thought it was really, really cute and made it stand out a little bit more from the background, which, yeah, I just thought it was really pretty. See here, I'm kind of struggling. So if you're going to do this, I figure hand delivering a note like this is totally fine, but if you are wanting to mail them out, you would have to make larger envelopes or cut it down, which I didn't want to do. So yeah, you might have to do a little bit of improvisation. And then because of the vellum, I didn't want the glue to show up on the front. So I just followed the sentiment on the back. And then from there, I didn't want to use a die to cut this one down. I wanted to do this on a 5x7 card because of what happened on the first try, and I don't have 5x7 panels. What I did not realize is I was using a pre-cut card, and it is actually a little bit smaller than 5x7. I think it's 5x6.5 actually. So you can see here, it kind of ended up looking a little bit funny, but I'm okay with it because I actually really enjoyed the result. And other than that, the rest of the card is exactly the same. I did the smooshing thing and die cut it, or smooshing and gold embossing, and then die cutting it out. And I actually used, for my adhesive here, I used the Elmer spray adhesive because I didn't want to have to fiddle with that many layers of having to glue. Plus there's gunk in glue, and if you put too much on, then you have to clean that up, and I just didn't want to have to deal with that. So I thought that it would be a good opportunity for me to try using the spray adhesive, and I do really enjoy it. So I will be using that in the future for intricate die cuts like this for sure. And it was relatively inexpensive, so make sure you check it out if you do like playing with die cuts like this, and you will not be disappointed, I promise. And then I did the same process here that I did on the previous card, where I attached it to vellum, and then I went over the actual writing on the back of the vellum to figure out where my glue could go so that you couldn't see it on the front of the card when it was all said and done. Okay, I'm going to take a step back, and I will be back for the second card shortly. Okie dokie, so here is my other idea that I had for last minute Christmas cards. This one uses the CZ design, that's Kathy Zilski if you're not familiar, her Chunky Mary die, and the Slimline Christmas die from Simon as well. I think the Slimline Christmas is also one of her dies. If it's not, it's very close to what her word dies look like. I just love it. I think they coordinate really nicely together, but because I wanted to use both and I don't have sub-sentiments of either Merry or Christmas, so I didn't have the opportunity this Christmas to kind of split them up. I wanted to use them together to create that complete sentiment, and I figured out that they actually fit on a slimline card. So this first card, and I was just kind of playing around. So I have this stencil, which I've linked below. It's the Nordic Snowflake. It's just some really cheap stencil that I found on Amazon, but any snowflake stencil that you have will do. I know that Fawn makes really cute ones. I think Simon has a couple of really cute ones as well, so you can check that out. And what I did is that first panel was cut out of the large slimline dies from Fawn. This second panel is cut out of the small slimline dies from Fawn. They're both the bigger size cutouts that you get with those stamp die sets. In this case, I also cut out the Merry Christmas in the center of the panel. And you can kind of see it there now that I've got the ink blending going on there. And this is the outline of those words. So both of these dies, the Merry and the Christmas, come with an outline as well as the actual words. And I am using tumbled glass distress ink to ink up my snowflakes here. I just wanted this to be super simple. I was experimenting and I decided to share because it was just, I really liked the result. I thought it was really cute. And then here, again, I'm experimenting with some colors. I think this was Twisted Citron and Mowed Lawn. And at first, I thought maybe I would like kind of do a two-tone, but then I didn't think that was going to work. So I did a whole set of the Merry Christmas in each color, and I had 3 cut out. And the other thing that I was trying to do is I had done a whole bunch of die cutting of this set, and I was trying to figure out new creative ways of combining them. And unfortunately, I just ran out of time to be able to show you guys all of the ideas that I had. I didn't actually get a chance to complete them all because there was just too many. But I used up all of the cutouts and used them in different ways. So I think that for next year, I will definitely be bringing this back and exploring some more of those opportunities. I then took a second cutout of this small slimline and just kind of layered it on top just to have a little bit more dimension. And I started assembling the card here. So I took my red panel, which I believe was a mixture of fired brick and aged mahogany, and I attached that to my card base, which measures 7.5 by 8.5, and it is scored on, sorry, it's 7 inches by 8.5 inches, and it is scored on the 7-inch side at 3.5 inches. Yes, that is the measurement. I then attached the small slimline, and then I layered the outline. So the other nice thing about these dies is they come with this really cute outline, so then you can do like a rainbow on the inside, or you can do red and green or gold and silver, really like whatever you want to do with these. There's just so much opportunity to go just nuts, and you'll see that in the card that I make after this, because this is more of a traditional color combination. And then I was like, I wonder what would happen if I just went a little crazy and took a softer look for this card. So I attached these with that spray adhesive as well. And the way that I assembled these is I left the insides of like the R's and the A out, and I came back with those in a little bit. And I did leave out the C there, so you can see the red through there. It just kind of completed it for me. So I made sure that all of my letters had the outlines, including on the inside, but I made sure that you could see the red in behind as well. And then I decided that I was going to use both of the colors and just interchange them. And I really liked the result. But for those of you who were paying attention, you now know that I have another set of Merry Christmas that I can do this with, because I had one of each color. And the reason that I had done both is actually because I wasn't sure which color I wanted to use. And then when I was laying it out, I decided that I really liked the interchanging color. It made the card really interesting for me, visually interesting. So I decided to go with it. So I'm using my EK Success tools there, my reverse tweezers, to make sure that all of my letters are inside of their outline properly. And then for the inlay of the middle pieces, because they're so tiny, I didn't want to have to try and fiddle around with getting them in there. So I just put more glue over top of them and put the second layer right on top. And then I misplaced the one for the A. I have since found it and put it on top. It took a while. And then I went in with a little bit of sequins. Since I am using Kathy Zielske products, I am following her method for triangles and making sure that my sequence is complementing the design. And then I wanted to add some sparkles, so I attacked it with my aqua shimmer pen, which I cannot get enough of apparently. It's just so shiny and it's so subtle. I don't know if you can really see it on camera, but I think I managed to capture it a little bit in the pictures of this card. Oh, you can really see it on the M there. Yep. Okay, so for the second card, I wanted to make a shaker card. And like I said, I did a bunch of die cuttings. So the way that I got these frames is I combined the largest of the large slimline and small slimline outline dies. And I aligned them up and taped them together so that every time I ran it through the die cut machine, I got the same frame. I then attached acetate to one of the frames, and that way I make sure that it's in there. And I'm using one of these outlines. This is actually, I think, the one that I then ended up using to back the previous card, to help me line up where my Merry Christmas needs to go. And the idea behind this card, I think I already said it, but it's a shaker card. So you'll be able to see all of the stuff moving inside, because it's just going to be the Merry Christmas sentiment. All right, so now this seems like a good time to tell you that if you are not subscribed yet, I would really appreciate it if you subscribe to my channel. Hit the notification bell to make sure you don't miss any new releases. And make sure you like this video, because who doesn't like last minute Christmas cards? Okay, on to the ink blending. If I remember right, this is Wilted Violet. Oh, no. It is Shaded Lilac and Wilted Violet. So right now I'm going in with Shaded Lilac, and I'm just going to do the whole panel in this color and then use Wilted Violet to just go around the outside to get that two-tone look that I'm absolutely obsessed with. And that's going to be the inside of my shaker. So because I chose to go with purple, I then decided that my letters were going to be pink. So when this was all done, I laid out my letters, and I had one of the Merry Christmases left over. So I separated the Merry Christmas, same as I did with the other cards, so that I have a two-tone look. I'm using spun sugar here, and then I went in with worn lipstick for the darker color. And I just separated them so that I didn't have an extra set to use on a later card. This was a little bit more purposeful after I figured out how I wanted to do this card. So once that's done, I am inlaying my colored pieces into my Merry Christmas sentiment. And I had to use a heavy block to hold them down because even though once they're dry, they're like very secure on the acetate, but the drying process, they needed a little bit of help because they were kind of peeling up. So I just used a heavy block to keep them in place until they really set. Make sure your block is clean. I'm not gonna lie to you, there was something on my block because when I took it away, the white wasn't as white as it was before. I was able to kind of rub it off and it was fine, but do make sure that you clean your block before you do this. Okay. And then when that was all done, I inlaid the rest of the pieces again. And everything on this card is just a single layer. And then I started my card assembly. So I attached my background first, and then I glued together all of those little frames because, and I'll link it above on the top right, I had started the holiday card series with my mice on ice, and I had talked about in that video the different ways that you can make a shaker card, and it got stuck in my head. I wanted to show you how to do a shaker card instead of using foam adhesive, how to do it with a whole bunch of frame die cuts. So that's what I did here. I put the frames together on top of the card, and then I remembered this time to go in with the anti-static powder tool and buff out everything in there. So the reason you want to use it, especially if you're using foam adhesive, is if there's any residual glue anywhere, you don't want the sequins getting stuck to it. So I went around the interior here with that anti-static powder tool to make sure that if there was any glue left anywhere, it wasn't going to stick to my sequins. So then once I put all my stuff inside, I adhered the top with the acetate, and that was my shaker. How fun! So that's the end of the card video, you guys. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today. There's some links to another playlist, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!